Let's watch a CNN panel as they further discuss the chaos on Capitol Hill, as Republicans are already reminding us their inability to govern and the fact that they don't care about the American people, instead following the direction of billionaire Elon Musk and torpedoing the government into shutdown, causing thousands of workers from TSA to construction workers to be out of pay but working on the holidays, with even more missing much needed social benefits. So let's see what the latest is on this front and jump back in with the needed context.
He put his foot down and said, vote for this bill, and they didn't.
Well, Scott, you break it, you own it, my friend. It's the Party Barn rule. And
break what?
Break the system. You guys broke it. You broke it. How did you break it?
Yeah.
You got everything you wanted. You have full control of everything now.
We haven't taken office yet,
even before you have full control, you have control of the House. You guys showed that you can't even govern when you have control of one House. I can't wait to see what's going to happen when you have control of
Where's
all.
Your party? You control two of the three legs of the stool. Where's the president?
Well,
Where's Sherman?
as you know, obviously, all these bills have to emanate from the House. That is actually the way our laws function. And so the House is responsible for sending a bill to the Senate. Now, the House is not able to send a bill to the Senate because Republicans can't even get on board because Elon Musk decided he was going to send some mean tweets out and everybody started to cower. And they decided to cut and run from a bipartisan deal that would have actually been set and done, and the Senate would have voted on it by now, and we all would have been home.
Make no mistake, this is exactly what the Republican plan is with so many facets of the government, especially these social programs. You say the government is broken, then you go in when you get control and purposefully hinder it or break it in any way you can. Then be like, see, I told you it's broken. That way you can privatize more parts for your rich donors while pricing out the poor, just like Trump is pondering doing with the Postal Service for Jeff Bezos, allowing him to make the money while pricing out the poor people in rural areas who now are gonna have to pay like $50 to have a package delivered to them because it's not profitable. But it is funny that MAGA claims to be against bureaucratic power and that it's the deep state that's ran by elites that's favoring themselves over us, the American people. Meanwhile, the literal richest man in the world, who was not elected but bought his way into getting this position from Trump, just showed that he now has the power to control what legislation will get through Congress, at least the House, by merely posting on his social media that he bought and also threatening to primary Republicans. As, again, we had bipartisan agreement on the spending bill. Elon said kill it, and now it's killed. Kind of like what happened with the border bill. Republicans love torpedoing legislation. And again, doing this as an unelected elite, directing the government to do something that hurts the middle class, but will benefit him. It's almost like this is exactly what MAGA pretends that Democrats do. It's almost like every accusation is a confession from MAGA.
This kind of chaos is what we're in for the next 4 years. And, as I'm going to sit back and I'm going to drink my martini, sit back and watch the chaos unfold.
Is that what Democrats in Washington are doing? Because they all but two of them voted to shut down the government.
No, excuse me. Democrats
They voted against the CR.
Democrats could have uniformly voted to shut everything down, and you guys still would have been able to do it. Because you're in the majority.
Talking about drinking martinis.
Because you're in the majority. You're in the majority, my friend.
Do you not have any governing responsibility on a two-thirds vote?
No, we do have a governing majority, and it's called a deal that was cut.
I'm only moderately good at math.
It was called a deal that was cut, and then you guys decided to walk away from it.
The part of this that I don't understand, look, I get the politics of blaming Democrats, but the practicality of it is that the speaker decided to take a deal that he had with Democrats, throw it out the window, put another deal that he did not negotiate with them on the table.
Yeah, it's super weird, party first, people last, America last politics. And I hate how MAGA has such a grip on the low intelligence population in America that they can get them to buy into this bullshit where, like, whatever way the wind blows that day, they'll go with it. Where first MAGA is screaming, shut it down, the government needs to go down. Then Republicans try and fail their own spending bill. And because Democrats voted against it, MAGA's now like, aha, see, it's Democrats' fault. They voted against the bill. Blame them, not us. And their base is buying into it. Like, there's people literally, like, they're already commenting on my post, be like, why are Democrats shutting down the government? Like, despite Republicans having majority in the House, they could have passed the bill without a single Democrat vote, but even 40 Republicans voted against it. Because it's a nonsensical bill, it was literally a political play put forward just so MAGA can do exactly what they're doing now on Twitter. And, they can somehow pretend to have the high ground here. And of course, their base that just wants to own the libs, they're going to take it. Like, in this bill was $200 million of cuts to childhood cancer research. So they could fund $200 million more in tax cuts for the rich. $0 from the Pentagon, $200 million from childhood cancer research. I mean, their goal is pretty clear here. Elon makes too much from defense contracts. He can't go touching that defense budget. And it's so weird, right? They've successfully convinced MAGA to be so into this, like, owning the libs and being anti-government, despite the fact that 90% of the people who are like following Elon's footsteps and being anti-government are like weirdos who couldn't survive without the government. They don't realize that like Elon is a billionaire. That's why he hates the government. Like the rest of us need it to survive. Like I'm sure plenty of these people who are like, destroy the government, they have no purpose. They don't do anything for us. I'm sure they drive on nothing but private roads. Am I right? I'm sure they don't go on those public roads to get to work. I'm sure they utilize private security rather than the police, right? I'm sure they hand deliver their mail rather than using the postal service. They just don't want our veterans cared for because that's useless. Our seniors shouldn't be out of poverty and have access to healthcare if they can't afford it. They, of course, deny the... I'm sure when they go to the hospital, they, of course, deny the countless publicly funded medical advancements, like the cancer research that has saved millions, you know, the heart medicine advancements, all vaccines pretty much. They refuse the healthy WIC foods when they had a newborn. And they, of course, think that all moms should because WIC is socialism. Of course, they're fine with the streets being even more crowded with homeless people, as the 9 million Americans on home assistance should just go without this program. If they ever got scammed for thousands, millions even, you know, whatever their life savings was, they would say, oh, well, they would blame themselves because, you know, it's their fault. They don't believe in utilizing things like the CFPB to recover stolen funds. I mean, the government is just stealing our taxpayer dollars. We should shut all of these things down. Only billionaires should go to the moon. NASA shouldn't exist. When they were a child, obviously they opted out of health insurance. They made the mature decision because to them, you know, guaranteeing kids healthcare is socialism. And when they went to college, of course, you know, they didn't fill out FAFSA because FAFSA also socialism, of course. Now, I could keep going endlessly with this. I mean, it's the ways the government benefit us is like, you know, night and day, right? In terms of like how they pretend it's like corrupt and all. Like these people, it's just bred from ignorance, right? It's again, people who utilize plenty of what the government provides. They're beneficiaries of it in lots of instances. Maybe like FAFSA helped them afford college, which their degree now got them their 6-figure job. Or maybe they escaped debt because like the government covered their kids' healthcare costs, right? But then they want to turn around and judge those who utilize a little more government than them. You know, like they don't get food stamps. So if you do, you're a mooch and you're a bad person, right? But it's weird because everyone wants to draw the line right after them. Like, you know, handouts are bad, not the ones I take. But if you take any extra ones, then you're a mooch. It's this epitome of like selfishness and self-entitlement where for a lot of people, they've been able to reap the benefits of the government as it is, that the government provides with it being funded and the size that it is. But now that they're on the other side where maybe they don't have to lean on the government as much, they've gotten the benefits from it and now they're in the private sector. They want to take from this, they want to pull that ladder up from those below them to further enrich the private sector that they now rely on. I mean, it's the analogy of climbing up the ladder and then pulling it up with you so the next person below you can't get up it. It's the exact reason we need the government, because if we had people like this in control with this mind state, there would be literally an income line in terms of who could survive. And it's like, no thanks. We're not going to be ran by billionaires. And you got to think, like, if we didn't have a government, corporations would be in charge, right? Like, libertarians don't critically engage with anything. So, and that's why libertarianism is the dumbest ideology. Like this idea of like small government, it's the dumbest ideology that you could have, I swear. And it's why Republicans don't even believe it. They just like, they tout small government so they can like appeal to libertarians so they can like get their vote. But then when Republicans like get in, they just like, okay, let's take away like, you know, teachers unions and things like that. But let's like add to like the donor lobby and like, let's prop up like the Supreme Court and like all these other things. It's nonsensical.